Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the October 2024 meeting of the Oldham County Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm Greg King, Chair. If you all will please join me in Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. And if everyone would please at this moment, please check your electronic devices to make certain that they're set to mute or off. A couple of items of housekeeping before we get underway. Mr. Fox, forgive me, sir, I forgot to extend a warm welcome to you during last month's hearing. We're glad you're here and we're glad you came back. So thank you, and welcome Mr. Fox to the commission, everyone, with me, please. And one more announcement. So we're without Mr. Urban today. I'm sure everyone is now aware, but Mr. Urban's mom passed away last week. He's making his way back from Massachusetts at this time, so be certain that you reach out to him, let him know he's in your thoughts and prayers. Let's see. First order of business will be approval of minutes. Can we go ahead and get a motion on the floor? So moved. Thank you, Mr. Elder. Second, thank you, Mr. Douglas. So corrections, updates, edits.
So Mr. Fox was here last month?
Indeed, contrary to the record, so we have that update already.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can we add his name to other commission members present?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have that one.
Okay.
We have that one. We actually have record of him voting there, but not present. So
Okay.
He's a multitasker last month. Thank you, Mr. Fox, keeping us entertained. Other edits, corrections? Ms. Jones.
I just had a couple tiny things. On page 10 of 15, I think in the first paragraph at the top where it says, unless it is required, there will be no lighting on the tower. Maybe it's supposed to be and/or on the ground, right there.
One more time. Can you dial me in where you were?
It's the first paragraph on page 10 of 15. It's the third line down where it says no lighting on the tower, and maybe and/on.
So as I recall,
and/or on the ground.
That was contingent upon FAA
hold on.
direction, if I'm not mistaken. Staff, anybody remember?
Okay.
What that looked like?
Okay, maybe that's fine. It just sounded a little weird.
The FFA requirement would be if they're required to put the blinking red light at the top of the tower. I think what Commissioner Jones is referring to is it says and, or, it should be and/or.
Okay.
If I'm understanding that correctly.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. And then just a few lines down where it says Attorney Baxter explained, it says to bound by, maybe it should be to be bound by. That was a little weird there, so maybe just put in be.
Agreed.
Would make that read better.
Thank you.
That's
Anything
all I
else?
have.
All right. Anyone else? All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes as corrected, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. And motion carries. All right. Let's go ahead and get staff sworn.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Edgar, will you read our first docket?
Docket PZ 23-021. Application has been filed by Kimberly Horn and Associates for a site plan review for a proposed location, Wawa Buckner, and a waiver of IPD parking area standards section 210-060C. The property is located at Highway 393 and Commerce Parkway, Buckner. The property is zoned Industrial Park District, IPD.
Thank you, Ms. Edgar. And Mr. Fisher, you have the staff's presentation.
I do. Brian Fisher, Senior Planner with Oldham County Planning and Development, 100 West Jefferson Street. As Ms. Edgar stated, this is for a site plan review for a proposed location of a Wawa in Buckner and a waiver of the parking area standards in the IPD zoning district. Area is located at Highway 393 and Commerce Parkway, right across from the Kroger and the McDonald's that's about to open here. And the property is once again zoned Industrial Park District. So currently the land use is undeveloped, sits on 2.99 acres of property. No previous site history, notifications. We did all the proper notifications as far as posting on our website on September 29th. We sent out adjoining property owner notices on the 10th of October, and the public notice appeared in the Oldham Era on the 12th. So here is the property in question, right at the corner of Highway 393 and Commerce Parkway, where the new extension just came in right in front of Tri-County Ford and across the street from the new Kroger and McDonald's that's about to open. So here's the zoning area. You can see surrounded by a little bit of C3 behind there in Tri-County Ford, but all this area shaded in that pink color is in the IPD zoning district. So the applicant is proposing a convenience store gas station on 2.99 acres of land in that industrial park district. The intent, and I did include these regulations in your staff packet, but the intent of the IPD is to create performance-based standards that will best utilize the community's limited industrial and commercial resources, resulting in the expansion of the community's economic base and enhancement of the community's quality of life. The IPD is intended to provide sufficient space and attractive landscape and planned industrial parks for industrial, commercial, and office activities, protect future economic development opportunities from incompatible land uses, ensure compatibility between industrial, commercial, and office operations within an industrial park, and provide employment opportunities for community residents and reduce commuting times. So as far as the IPD goes, all principally permitted uses that are in any of those other commercial zoning districts, so C1, C2, C3, and C4, as well as I1, light industrial, are permitted within the IPD. Okay, so the IPD pretty much encompasses all of our other commercial uses as far as permitted uses, so those are permitted in the IPD. Retail and personal service establishments, so such as a convenience store, with a gross floor area of less than 50,000 square feet are permitted uses in both C1 and C2. So therefore, that's a permitted use in the IPD. The applicant is proposing a 5,919 square foot single-story convenience store, 10 double-sided gas pumps, and 64 parking spots. And here is a copy of their site plan, which was included in your staff packet, showing the convenience store itself, the gas pumps located here out front on the 393 side. They're going to have an entrance coming in off Commerce Parkway. There's been a little bit of talk about these two entrances being offset. So I do want to just bring that to your attention. Hopefully that'll be something that the applicant addresses. That was brought up in the TRC. So this little stub road is already here. So currently the way they've got this is that these two don't align. I know there's been some conversation between the applicant and that property owner on what to do about that. So I just want to bring that to your attention because that'll probably come up in the course of this hearing. So I just want to make sure you know kind of what we're talking about in that area. And then they also are going to have a right-in only coming in off 393. And that was something the Transportation Cabinet originally they had a right-in and a right-out, but the state would not grant that approval, so they did make those changes to the plans, as well as they provided, it's in your staff packet, a detailed list of all the comments that were brought up at TRC and what they've done to remedy all of those comments from the various agencies. And then you'll note parking surrounding the entire structure, as well as on the perimeter of the lots. Here, I just threw this in. This is their landscape plan. In the proposed binding elements, when we get to those, you will see that obviously there's a landscape and lighting plan that are going to have to be approved at the staff level at the time of construction plan approval. They have already submitted this landscape plan. Just looking at it in a very preliminary review, it appears that it meets those IPD zoning regulations. They've got landscape buffer going all the way around on the Commerce Parkway as well as the 393 side. They've got their trees spaced accordingly for the IPD regulations, but just know that's something that comes with construction plan approval, but they do have that submitted already within their site plan review, and it looks to meet all those regulations. And then I did just go out and take a couple pictures of a field for you yesterday because I didn't want to let my presentation go without some nice photos. So here is the proposed location. Directly across, you can see in the distance the Kroger. And just a couple more pictures of some grass and trees and brush. And then a couple views looking down Commerce Parkway. This is towards the light there at 393, and then back down Commerce Parkway towards the extension at Tri-County Ford, the entrance to Tri-County Ford. And then a couple pictures coming out of Commerce onto 393 as you go towards the interstate. This is where that right-in only will be for the proposed gas station. Another picture looking down, and then one looking back towards the Ford dealership, towards the back of the property. A couple other things to note as I was going through the review, I noticed IPD, which isn't something we get a lot of. They actually have some parking area standards that parking is not allowed in the front setbacks. And so Section 210-060 of the parking area standards in the IPD prohibits all parking areas from being in the front and side yard setbacks. The plan shows parking in the front yard setback on Commerce Parkway, and so the applicants are asking for a waiver from that regulation for those particular parking spots. And I've got a couple more slides which will show this in a little bit better detail. So here are the parking area standards. This was included in your staff packet as well, with the area highlighted, showing that parking areas are prohibited in those front and side yard setback areas. So the way the zoning regulation is written, the minimum front yard setback is either 35 feet, and you can look here at this, the top one is what we're looking at, or 50 feet when adjacent to arterial roadways. So Jim Silliman, our county engineer, schooled me yesterday on roadway classifications and gave me a crash course on that. If he needs to come up here and be my lifeline, I'll call him up here to help. But 393 is considered an arterial roadway. So that would be a 50-foot front setback. There's no parking that is within that 50-foot setback on this particular side. But on this side, because they're a corner lot and they've got two front setbacks, this would be a 35-foot front yard setback, which is right in the crack of that screen. So I apologize for the people in the crowd that can't see my arrows there. So all of that parking that is in this general area, noted here, they're asking for that waiver from that requirement to be able to provide that parking in that area. So it's looking like that's about 28 spots or so that would be within that area. So kind of in summary, the proposal is, first, the applicant is asking for a waiver from those IPD parking area standards, Section 210-060, and that's item C for the proposed Wawa. Those proposed conditions of approval for you to consider is that the waiver shall only apply to the plan reviewed at the October 24th, 2023 Planning Commission public hearing. And then the applicant is also requesting approval of a site plan for a proposed Wawa located at Highway 393 and Commerce Parkway. The proposed binding elements at this point, pending any that we may hear throughout testimony, is the approval applies only to the plans presented at the October 24th, 2023 Oldham County Planning Commission public hearing. Landscape and lighting plan must be submitted for approval at the time of construction plan approval. There shall be no changes to the plan without review of the Oldham County Planning Commission and Engineers Office, except for those landscape and lighting plans that will require staff level review and approval. And then lastly, the plan must comply with all established federal, state, and county ordinances and requirements and comply with all necessary easement restrictions. And then once again, you all as the Planning Commission can amend, delete, add other binding elements to this list if you so choose to in the course of this testimony. So in summary, the applicant's requesting approval of that site plan as well as the waiver for their proposed Wawa gas station.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fisher. Mr. Silliman.
Good morning, Jim Silliman, Oldham County Engineer, 100 West Jefferson Street, LaGrange. So subsequent to our review of the TRC submittal, several changes were made to the plan, revisions and updates. One, as Ryan mentioned, was the change to the right-in, right-out, which is now shown as a right-in only. There was a traffic impact study that has been provided at that date. We just request a copy of the updated study that's the traffic flow should change because now you won't have the right out. So as soon as that's prepared or completed by the applicant, we need a copy of that. I believe this is still currently under review as Federal Highways has to approve this because of its proximity to the interstate. But they have made the changes that were requested by KYTC. Of course, any other work within the state right-of-way will require an encroachment permit from KYTC. Ryan mentioned on the north end the offset intersections here. I'm not aware of the conversations with adjacent property owner. There's a note on these plans that state there have been coordination with the north property owner to have this relocated in the future. We'd rather not have it wait until the future and at a minimum just remove that stub and curb across it to close the gap. And then the appropriate intersection can be placed by that developer at that time aligned with this intersection. Just a note, I've got a note here stating that we were provided a very comprehensive plan set, numerous sheets more akin to a construction plan set, more detailed than you normally have at Plan Commission review. So there are several details like curb radii that we'll review with the applicant, but there's no reason for me to review that here today. It's not really relevant. Curb radii for traffic movement, that can be corrected at a later date. Of course, since this does involve greater than 1 acre of land disturbance, the KYR-10 Kentucky Division of Water permit will be required by the applicant in addition to the Oldham County Stormwater Quality Management and Erosion Control permit from my office. Changes were made to the plan. The TRC plan had the stormwater running to this blue line stream along the west side of the property. They've revised that to direct the stormwater runoff to a regional detention basin that has been proposed and investigated at south of this property to serve multiple lots. We've actually approved those plans for that developer. And that basin actually includes water quality features, so there would be no additional water quality requirements for this site. And that's the extent of my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Silliman. All right, commissioners, questions for staff. Anybody with questions for Mr. Fisher or Mr. Silliman? Mr. Falvey?
You might as well come back up. I just have a question on that. The way you described this access easement off of 393, the right in, right out,
Yes.
but the property owner adjacent to this property that we're speaking of hasn't approved it. Is that right?
I'm not aware that it's been recorded yet.
Okay.
So that's just something that would need to be recorded to finalize that. If it weren't, it wouldn't be constructed.
I understand, but are we approving this plan based on that?
Yes.
Though we don't know if it's going to happen or not?
I can't speak to that because I wouldn't be the one approving that easement.
Okay. Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Falvey? Mr. Finney, please.
I have a question for staff, and it concerns the 35-foot setback in the IPD regulation. for the parking, what, does anybody know why there's no parking allowed in that 35-foot setback? What's the, what's the,
Sometimes it's good to have some institutional memory. So when I was here in the 90s, we worked on the Industrial Park District zoning district, recognizing that Commerce Parkway would one day be built, and we didn't want a hodgepodge commercial or industrial park development in that corridor. So the intent of that is the idea that we don't have parking abutting right up on the property line, like what we have seen prior to the time that we adopted the IPD zoning district. So the intent, Commissioner Falvey, is just to provide some area in particular to industrial uses versus commercial uses, because the IPD allows office, commercial, and industrial uses. So we didn't want those industrial uses with storage yards or heavy equipment or something like that parked right up on the right-of-way. We wanted them to observe the setback requirements.
okay, in this instance, the parking appears to be up against the building rather than up against the curb. Am I correct there? Or is it both? Okay, it's both, I think, yeah,
Okay, yeah, it looks like there's parking.
on both
Thank
sides.
you.
Let's go with that one.
All right. So it does look like there's parking along Commerce Parkway there, which is what they're asking the waiver for, because it encroaches in that 35-foot required setback.
Right. Yeah, well, the setback starts at the curb and goes all the way to the building.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
All right.
Mr. Finney, anything additional? Mr. Douglas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just ask and we'll trade the mic.
I'll ask you this question, and then I've got one for the county engineer. When it comes to the waiver, in the past, on the waiver, we've always indicated how many parking spaces are waived. Are we doing an open waiver, a request on this if we're asked? Since we
I
don't,
believe you could tie if you all approve the waiver, you could tie it to the development plan, which indicates the number of parking spots.
that's,
And then if for some reason they wanted to vary from that, one of your all's typical binding elements or conditions of approval is if they waiver from the approved development plan, it needs to come back before you guys.
that's what I suspect.
Okay.
My next question was to the county engineer, I guess, and then I may have one more for you, Brian, but I'm sorry. I was trying to understand what Mr. Falvey or Finney asked about the 393 right-hand lane, and then he was talking about the intersection off of Commerce Parkway, and I'm assuming that he was talking about both issues? Or did you take that as
No,
one?
I think you're specifically asking about approving a plan when that right in only does not, if it does not have a dedicated easement. And I guess I'm glad you asked again, because really when you look at the plan, elimination of that, in my professional opinion, I don't think would provide a significant impact, because you do have the signalized intersection at 393 in Commerce to provide access through the, what I'll say, the main ingress and egress off Commerce Parkway.
And that, taking the assumption of that, you're talking about that easement, that would not encroach or affect the landscaping buffer that's required when the right-hand lane off of 393 comes in. I mean, that, I see it on their drawing, I see the right-hand lane, so that's taking an accountability of that easement?
Because it's aligned with the curb on the Wawa site, and if the Wawa site meets those landscape buffers, it would appear to meet those on the adjacent site too.
Okay. And my last, I guess one of my questions also, the existing roadway off of Commerce Parkway that they intend to use, is that wide enough, or they're going to have to modify it?
They'll be constructing their own entrance and exit, their ingress and egress off Commerce Parkway.
Because there is an existing roadway there, correct?
I believe there is, and it doesn't align properly with where they need to have this to properly fit.
Going to Commerce Parkway.
Correct.
Okay.
but this one is there.
Okay, okay.
And they're not utilizing I think it's called Dealership Road that goes down to Tri-County Ford.
Correct. And I'm not sure who can answer this, Ryan or Brian. This will be my last one, I swear.
It doesn't matter, however many you have.
And I can ask the applicant this too, and they may be able to answer it, but I didn't know if they followed up with you guys on this. Was the MSD request by them that says the applicant needed to submit a DFC downstream facility capacity? Do you know if that was complied by them?
I do not know, and that's probably a question that's best answered by the applicant.
But they didn't provide you?
That's correct.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Douglas. Anyone else, commissioners with questions? All right, being none, we'll move into presentation from applicant.
Do you guys need help with the PowerPoint?
While we're getting this ready, we might want to go ahead and get your team sworn in. Anyone who's going to provide testimony,
Sir, you want to just there?
please stand. You don't have to step in yet. It's just right there is good.
Raise your right hand.
Raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Do.
Thank
Thank
you.
To have the right one. Okay. All right.
For everyone providing testimony, please give us your name and address before you begin.
Thank you, Chairman King. Members of the Planning Commission, my name is John Baker. I'm a land use attorney here in Kentucky with the firm Wyatt Tarrant Combs. The address is 400 West Market Street, Suite 2000, Louisville, Kentucky, 40202. Get that mixed up. Happy to be here on behalf of Wawa and Kimley Horn. I just want to make a few points because Mr. Fisher's staff report, I think, very much provides a pertinent synopsis of this review. The notes in particular, I think, are very pertinent and concise and really encapsulate what this site plan review is all about and the justification for a positive consideration. I do want to touch on some points that were brought up, and then Mr. Lanning, on behalf of Kimley Horn, will walk you through some of the other issues. He's an engineer on the project. But just towards the use, Wawa's, I think that many have read, are coming into this market. They're a very popular fuel station with convenience store. Their foods are freshly prepared daily, and that is a very popular amenity that folks come to Wawa for. And in particular, as it relates to this site, I think this is going to be an ideal position for this use because it's going to serve not only the industrial park that will be to the west and its employees and users, but also we know that this is going to be a popular stop for folks traveling I-71, not to mention just folks traveling 393. So that way it can provide access to those that are coming from a commercial more standpoint, but also serve the users to the west that are working within the industrial park. And one of the things that have been brought up are some issues concerning property to the north and the south of this site. Both those properties are on the same ownership, and it's the same owner that owns the property that's subject of development of this site. So in terms of providing an easement, that easement will be provided by that owner, or else this conversation of developing this property would not even be happening if he was reluctant to provide an easement permission for vehicular access to the site. Also, as it relates to the curb cut on the north side of Commerce Parkway, as you can see to this picture, that curb cut is not being utilized today. And we believe that the curb cut being provided by this site plan pulls it back farther from 393, which is a better solution for the future that will provide more space for stacking. Once the property to the west starts developing, more traffic will come. And anytime you can provide more distance between curb cuts and arterials, I think the better. And then lastly, Nick, we'll go over this a little bit more, but the waiver that is being applied for in concern to section 210060, the parking requirements in the IPD, this has to go to topography of the entire site. because as you see, we have the left entry service road, which will go south and serve the property to the south as well, that brings traffic up to Commerce Parkway. If we were to try to shove the site design south so parking comes out of that 35-foot setback, that will also push that service road to the left and south and get that closer to the blue line stream, which is what we're looking to avoid. So I know that there's two moving parts to that justification, but it's a holistic site design issue that we're looking to stay away from that blue line stream, and hence the parking will be, is being requested to be in that front setback, triggering the waiver. We will be meeting all landscaping requirements within the setback as it relates to Commerce Parkway. So we believe that on balance, that is a good solution for the site design. And we hope and request that this commission feels the same way. At this point, Nick, would you mind coming up and walking through some slides? And we've got members here from the applicant's team, should there be any questions from the commission, and really appreciate your time and consideration this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Name's Nick Lanning. Address is 1218 Montgomery Ave, Nashville, Tennessee. So like John said, Wawa is very unique for a gas station in that they serve the fresh food. They're all about kind of the customer and the community. They donate to local charities, and everywhere they build their stores and hire local people. So they're not just about making a quick buck off of gas and some snacks. They're really about providing a good experience, a good store that people want to come to for breakfast or lunch, whatever, and bringing up the community around them. So on this slideshow, we have some 3D elevations of the Wawa store. These are just the typical elevations. So the store might not look exactly like this, but this is typically what they look like in this market. And then we have some 2D elevations as well, with just a little more detail on that storefront and what it's going to look like from every side. Moving into the actual site plan, so I know Jim was talking about the, oh, there it is. This entrance off of Commerce right here, and how it doesn't align with our entrance. And so John mentioned this as well, but we're pulling that entrance farther away from Highway 393, which we think helps safety there because it adds that longer queue length along here so that more cars can stack up there, and there won't be as much overlap with people turning into and out of this site and into and off of Highway 393. So with the current curb cut right here, this is, like John mentioned, owned by the same property owner that owns all of the property to the south of the Wawa site as well. So there have been some discussions with that property owner, and Jake can go into a little more detail, I'm sure, if you guys would like. But essentially, the plan is that whenever this site to the north is developed, it would be a requirement that this curb cut is moved to align with our property right here so that there isn't any overlap. And currently, this isn't being used, so it's just a stub to nowhere. So there shouldn't be any issue with overlap because it's essentially as if there's not even an entrance there because no one is going to use it. So that's our idea with that entrance, is that later on it would come and align with ours, and that would resolve any possible overlap issues between those two entrances. Like John said, with this easement off of Highway 393, that seems like very much confirmed and will be dealt with in a plat later on, a plat that also will create this site. And even if it were to fall through, like Jim mentioned, it really would not impact the site significantly because the site wouldn't move at all. It would stay in the exact same spot. It would just not have that one extra entrance off of Highway 393. And then regarding the parking waiver, with this parking in that setback, like John mentioned, we're providing landscaping between the parking and Commerce Parkway, and we think that'll really kind of handle the intent of that setback and creating that separation between that parking and the road so you don't have cars parked right up against the road. And there won't be any heavy industrial equipment or anything, obviously, because this is a commercial site. So it would just be passenger cars in those parking spots. And with that landscape buffer and the landscaping between them, we feel that it won't have an adverse impact on the feel of the whole area. The only other item I will mention is the blue line stream here with that parking, if we were to have to move everything down, just elaborating on what John said. So that would push the site south, which would cause this road to also move south and not be able to cut over. So it cuts an angle right here as soon, which would push it closer to this blue line stream. And we're just really trying to avoid impacting that blue line stream, just keep its natural character as much as we possibly can. So that's another reason we're proposing that parking right there, is to minimize our impacts to that stream and the existing plants and nature there. Last thing I have is just our grading plan here. So this really just shows that stormwater that Jim mentioned. All of it will be routing south to master detention and water quality that is being developed. I believe those plans are still being finalized. I think plans came through earlier, but the developer is changing those a little bit. So we'll obviously add those details to our final construction documents and when we get those approvals. But for now, we are just showing that connection. And once we get the details, we'll be sure to include those in our plans. And obviously, that will be part of the later reviews.
All right.
Thank you.
Does that conclude your presentation?
That does, yes.
Very well. Thank you very much.
Either of you want to say anything?
That's good.
Great.
Fair enough. Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? Seeing none, we'll move on to those who wish to speak in opposition or ask questions. All right? Seeing none, then we'll move into questions from the commission. Commissioners, who has questions of the applicant? Mr. Falvey?
Let's see. Engineer's fine. As I understand it, from the testimony today, the property to the north and south is owned by the same person?
Correct.
And is this site also owned by the same person?
Currently, yes.
So, okay, I feel a little more confident then.
Anything else, Mr. Falvey? Mr. Douglas?
Unless I missed it, but I did not hear anyone explain if MSD, or if you guys did the paperwork for MSD on the downstream.
Yes, so we've submitted to them. We haven't heard back yet, but we have submitted the paperwork to them to get that capacity.
And what happens if something happens with not enough capacity or there needs to be something done? Can you put on record what you would do? Since MSD is not here to...
Right. And for the record, John Baker coming to answer a question from Commissioner Douglas. And just like a lot of different issues you faced from between approval from your concept plans to construction, they're not going to issue permit.
Right.
So you wait until you figure out that solution, and because this property, as well as beyond the property boundaries, you have certain drainage facilities that are going to serve multiple properties. It's obviously in the best interest of the property owner and as well as our applicant to have that resolved. And we know those discussions are undergoing. The first detailed plan for a conceptual master drainage was approved. Now they're making adjustments to that. So, we've been under the impression that that's underway and they're finessing that as we speak.
Thank you for putting it on record. Thank you.
All right. Anything further? Ms. Jones?
I'm looking at the plans and I don't see any larger parking spaces for trucks with trailers or motorhomes or even semis. You don't expect to have any of that?
Correct. The standard spaces that we're proposing on this plan are 10 feet wide and 20 feet deep. So they are a little larger than typically your 9 by 18 standard spaces, but correct, we are not proposing any large spaces for larger trailers or semis or anything like that. The only semi trucks that we would be anticipating on the site would be the fuel truck and the delivery truck, which would be parked in this loading zone. And neither of those would be parked in a parking spot.
But what about people traveling with campers or boats or?
So we do not propose any parking for anyone with a trailer or a boat.
But how do you stop them from showing up?
we can't stop them from showing up, and I don't know how they would park. I can't say that. The site is not designed for them to be parking on site. That's all I can really say from the engineering perspective.
So that's not something that you normally deal with at Wawa locations?
Correct.
Okay.
Anything further, Ms. Jones? Mr. Hampton?
Lisa Corpus. Can you my address?
Get your address, please.
Oh, 15779 Teal Road, Verona, Kentucky. I'm the real estate manager for Wawa. Just to address your question, typically when we have people that pull, it's quick. They're just getting the fuel, getting food. Typically they just pull under the canopy. Our canopies are wide. Our engineer can give the dimensions of the canopy width, but our canopies are wide enough where you can actually pull a car at both pump and then have a car drive through. So they're extra wide, tall canopy height. So typically people, I mean, we have a lot of people that fill with their boats and their campers, but they just pull under the canopy, run in, get their food, get out, and then they move on. So we don't provide on-site parking for those for longer extended periods, but the canopy is where they park.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Jones, anything additional? No. Okay, Mr. Hampton?
As the engineer, please. On the right turn only, is that a want or a need?
I believe for Wawa it is a need, where it is contingent upon that right turn that they would want to develop this site, just to get that access off of Highway 393.
It just seems a little awkward to me, and I know the landowner, I understand that part, but when they develop the part south of that, couldn't that be a problem?
Well, so if they develop to the south, that right turn in would also serve that southern development. It would be connected to those developments as well. It wouldn't just connect to the Wawa development. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything further, Mr. Hampton? No. Commissioners, any further questions? Ms. Nasser?
Okay, so I see on sheet 2 of 2 that you all provided that adjacent northern property stub road looks like it is already aligned in that drawing.
Sheet 2-20 you're looking at?
Looks like it's the second page in.
Okay.
Sheet 2 of 2 in the bottom right corner.
Oh, yes. So that sheet is the existing survey. So that's existing conditions. So right now there's that dirt road that you could see in the pictures on site. So we are pushing that further back. That where you see the curb cut onto our site is not the same location that we're proposing the curb cut. We're proposing the curb cut further from the intersection so that we get that larger queuing space at the intersection.
Okay. And it's been mentioned that the conversation's been had with the adjoining north property owner who also owns this property, that they would address that when it's developed. But Jim Sullivan mentioned that they would prefer that go ahead and be taken apart or, dissolved at this point in time. Has that conversation been had with the landowner?
Jake, do you want to answer this one?
Just get your name and address for the record, please.
Jake McDonald with Old Acre McDonald, 3841 Green Hills Village Drive, Suite 400, Nashville, Tennessee. Me and Mr. Jones have talked about a few different paths forward with how we want to handle this intersection. Like we've mentioned, he owns the property we are purchasing, as well as the property to the south and the north of us. We have not discussed, just closing that off right now. I can certainly have that discussion if that's how you all would like to see it, as opposed to waiting for, that to be developed in the future, or just moving it so we have another stubbed access road to nowhere. We've both been pretty open with working with each other on whatever the solution that's, the best path forward is. So whatever that that solution is, I think I can speak to us as the developer, and with my conversations with him, I think we can, accomplish whatever it is you all would like to see there.
All right, thank you. Anything further, Ms. Nasser? So in this connection, just so the commissioners can understand what direction to take with that, so, and staff, correct me if I'm wrong, please, but the idea is you can place a condition of approval that requires what Mr. Silliman recommended with respect to that stub. And it is not much different from what was described as whether or not the MSD permit comes to pass. That's a non-issuance of permit if your condition is not met. Everybody clear with that? Okay. All right, Mr. Douglas.
Mr. Sullivan, could I ask him a question? Maybe two. Is it necessary, though, we do it as condition of approval for that stub? Because I don't want to testify, but in subdivisions, we've included on plans or approved plans that have stub roads, and then later the developer comes in and makes those developmental plans to make those changes.
I guess my first thought, just thinking about the stub roads in the subdivisions, it's a little different. Those are for different connectivity. If this, we typically wouldn't, I guess, design a road with these stubs anymore. If you look at Eden Parkway, that was specifically designed with no curb cuts except for where the roundabout is, right? And that was because trying to anticipate where a developer is going to put a curb cut results in this, where we've got it in the wrong place, right? So that's where I think right now it's probably better just to cut that off and close that gap, not even worry about building a new stub, because the future developer, if we ask Wawa to build it with a 35-foot radius and a 25-foot radius, let's say, on each side, and then the future developer determines they need 50 for the trucks coming in, then it's been built wrong a second time. So ideally, if we can just get it closed off, it's probably the best solution.
Okay.
Is it necessary? Is it required? It doesn't go anywhere, so no, but it'd be better to do it now and have it prepared.
Who made the decision when Commerce Parkway was being widened and developed to put in that?
Those two stubs, the existing one that's on the current south side Wawa site and the stub we're talking about, I believe we're part of that 393 intersection alignment that's part of a greater project, phase 2, to carry 393. So I don't think that was part of Commerce Parkway. I think it was part of the 393 realignment project.
I just didn't know who made that decision to put that stub there. And there's several stubs, I guess, going up through there, correct?
Well, so now, when Commerce Parkway was extended, I'd have to look at the plans again and see what stubs were provided, if any. Okay. I'm sorry.
My last question to you is that, just put on record for me, when we're talking about the Blue Line stream and the
Yes.
waiver for the parking, is that make sense to you because they don't want to cut into the area on the Blue Line stream?
Certainly, especially since
Since you're the stormwater.
Right, county engineer and stormwater coordinator. And this is also within the Curry's Fork watershed. So Curry's Fork is an impaired watershed, and we want to pay particular attention to that. So yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Silliman. Further questions from the commission? Mr. Falvey?
Engineer's fine. This is an aside question. Do you provide electrical hookups at this new Wawa for electrical cars?
Yes. So the decision on whether there will be electric vehicle parking spots comes later once the site is already being built. So we can't say for sure right now whether or not there will be EV charging spots, but it is certainly a possibility.
All right, commissioners, further questions? All right, seeing none, we will move along. Having no opposition testimony or questions, we will dispense with cross and rebuttal and move into final statement from applicant. Did I get that right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we don't have a final statement. We really appreciated the conversation. I think some good points and questions were brought up, and we're here to answer any more questions that might come up. And again, thank you for your time this morning, and Wawa certainly looks to be on this site, and they're excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that closes the public portion of the hearing. Mr. Fogel, will you frame up our motion sequence here?
Yes. So the motions, I think the path that you guys will follow is that you will consider whether or not you want to grant the waiver in the parking setback along Commerce Parkway. And I also want to just mention as a technicality to make sure we got all our T's crossed and our I's dotted. As part of that, we probably should have suggested to you guys that we also grant a waiver along Highway 393 in terms of the fuel canopy and the fuel pumps, just to make sure that if the project is approved and the applicants don't have a problem in the future, it would be nice to be on the record that they were granted a waiver in the parking setback along Commerce Parkway, and then also any setback requirements for the fuel canopy along Highway 393. So
we're looking at 2 waivers.
We are looking at 2 waivers. I would look to Mr. Baxter whether or not that can be 1 waiver or if they need to make 2 separate waiver motions.
I mean, I don't have an objection to doing it in 1. Mr. Baker, are you okay with that? Okay. I mean, you know, I assume that we got to sort this out one way or the other, so.
Unless there's a difference in opinion between the setbacks, I think it's appropriate to make 1 motion for both setbacks.
All right. And we will discuss conditions of approval upon the development plan itself.
Upon the development plan. So if you all grant the waiver, then there would be a motion for approval of the development plan with conditions that, would you prefer to wait to go over those after we get past the waiver? Okay.
Yes. All right. Okay, so commissioners, everybody clear on where we are? We're on a waiver motion at the moment, and the floor is open. Mr. Douglas?
Mr. Chairman, reference docket PZ-23-021. I make a motion that we approve the waivers of section 210-060, parking area standards, subsection C, parking prohibitions. All parking areas shall be prohibited from the required front yard setback and side yard setback. Make the motion that we grant the waiver because it is due to strict compliance. If they go with this, with the regulations, would create undue hardship because of the exceptional unique topography. And it's also to avoid impacting the Blue Line stream, which we've heard testimony both from the applicant and the county engineer stormwater coordinator that this is the best means of doing the setbacks on both the front yard setback and the side yard setback as noted on the developmental plan that's been submitted by the applicant on this development. And the design innovation of this case, which will be achieved by the basic objective of the regulations based on the parking waiver.
Thank you, Mr. Douglas. Mr. Baxter?
The only other part of that, Mr. Douglas, would you care to include that the waiver only applies to the plan reviewed on October 24, 2023 at the Planning Commission?
I agree to that.
Very well.
And we have a good motion, Mr. Chairman.
A motion on the floor. Do I have a second? Mr. Hampton, thank you. All right. Ms. Edgar, we will move into a roll call vote. Oh, beg your pardon. Thank you. Thank you. Discussion first. Mr. Finney, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The point was brought up about the fuel canopy. Where does this, since this wasn't talked about in the discussion, where does this enter in? What is being waived on the fuel canopy?
Well, after the staff presentation, while the applicant was talking, I kind of, in the recesses of my mind, went, I think there's a portion of the zoning ordinance that addresses fuel service centers. And there is. There's a portion of the zoning ordinance that talks about that the fuel canopies need to be at least 15 feet from any property line. So just to assure that we're addressing everything in terms of the waiver, that's where we're kind of making the request with your all's waiver approval to go ahead and say that we've addressed the fuel canopy.
Okay, so we're not running into a height restriction or a, we're just doing a setback, basically.
That is correct.
Okay, all right, it wasn't discussed, I was just.
Mr. Baxter, do we need to make any specific reference in the motion additionally?
I don't think so.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, just Mr. Finney,
Just
we good?
clarification.
All right,
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, being none, we're going to move into a roll call vote.
Ms. Davis? Yes. Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Elder?
Yes.
Mr. Falvey?
Yes.
Mr. Finney?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Hampton?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Got it.
Mr. Klingenfuss?
Yes.
Ms. Nasser?
Yes.
Ms. Walzer?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Edgar. And the motion to approve the waiver has passed on a vote of 11-0. All right, Mr. Fogel.
Okay.
Let's talk about a development plan.
All right, so the development plan or site plan would need a motion to be either approved or denied. You would have to find that it is in compliance with the requirements of the zoning ordinance. With the waiver that you all granted, it is in compliance with the requirements of the zoning ordinance. There are 4 binding elements proposed in your all staff report. I'd like to read those, and then also add a 5th to address the curb cut issue that's been brought up as part of the public hearing. So proposed binding element number 1, that a very standard one, that if you all approve it, today's approval only applies to the development and site plan that was presented at today's meeting. Number 2, a landscaping and lighting plan must be submitted for approval at the time of construction plan approval. Number 3, there shall be no changes to the plan without review by the Oldham County Commission and Engineers Office, except for the landscaping and lighting plans, which will be reviewed by staff. Number 4, pretty standard, that the plan and their development must comply with all established federal, state, and county ordinances and requirements, and comply with all necessary easement restrictions. And number 5, that's not listed in your staff report, but addresses an issue that was brought up as part of the public meeting, is the curb cut and how it's misaligned with their proposed curb cut. So in consulting with the county engineer, we're suggesting this type of language: curb cut on north side of the site shall be removed or curbed to align with the Wawa curb cut.
Thank you, Mr. Fogel. All right, commissioners, any questions? Everybody clear? Floor will be open for a motion. Mr. Falvey?
I'll make the motion to approve the site plan because the plans are consistent with the requirements of the Oldham County zoning ordinance, and specifically section 230-110 site plan requirements, and including in the 5 binding elements read previously by Brian Fogel.
Thank you, Mr. Falvey. Mr. Baxter, we good?
Yes, we are.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Second. Mr. Elder, thank you.
And yes, Jim whispered something in my ear, so multiple people in here today are wearing Jim Urban hats. Mr. Baxter, do we need to ask the applicant if they are agreeable and accept those binding elements?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Baker?
We agree. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
You can wear the Jim Urban hat too, Mr. Baxter.
All right. Discussion. Mr. Finney, this is your cue. Good. All right. If there's no discussion, we'll move into a roll call vote. Ms. Edgar?
Mr. Hampton.
Yes.
Mr. Finney.
Yes.
Mr. Fox.
Yes.
Ms. Davis. Mr. Elder.
Yes.
Ms. Jones.
Yes.
Ms. Nasser.
Yes.
Ms. Walzer.
Yes.
Mr. Klingenfuss.
Yes.
Mr. Falvey.
Yes.
Mr. Douglas.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Edgar. And PZ-23-021, site plan development has been approved on a vote of 11-0.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Please.
Can I ask a question of Wawa? Are you all going to have Scrapple at the store? My wife is from the Northeast, and she loves Scrapple, and, you know, she's going to be very upset if you come all the way down here without Scrapple, so. Nothing? Nobody will even
You
respond
missed
to
your
me.
chance. Conditions of approval are
I know.
already passed.
I
right?
know.
Great, so.
The question is, what is Scrapple?
You don't know what Scrapple is? Oh, see
I'm
that.
a Kentucky girl. Listen to the Wawa.
You'll have to text the folks up in the Northeast and ask them what Scrapple is, but
Is it one of the breakfast items?
it's a pork product, which I'll leave it at that. I do not care for Scrapple. If you read the ingredients, you probably wouldn't either, but my wife thinks it's the most delicious thing on the face of the planet.
Well, I will
so.
double check for you.
Okay, I
Put that on the
appreciate
list,
that.
right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Binding element number 6.
Thank you all. All right, commissioners, holding up all right? We're good? Okay. All right, give us just a minute here, okay?
Just go ahead.
All right. All right. You ready? Okay. Ms. Edgar, will you go ahead and read the next docket item, please?
Docket PZ 23-022. An application has been filed by North Oldham Fire Department for the approval of a community facility review for a proposed fire station located at 8615 West Highway 42, Goshen. The property is zoned R2 Residential District.
Thank you, Ms. Edgar. And Mr. Fogel, you have the staff presentation.
Yes, Brian Fogel, Assistant Director, and the application that's before you all this morning is for a community facility review for the North Oldham Fire Department to construct a new firehouse. Notification was given for today's meeting on our website. Adjoining property owners were notified, and then also a legal advertisement appeared in the Oldham Mirror newspaper. The location of the site is on Highway 42, where the existing North Oldham Fire Station is. The parcel is approximately 2.34 acres in size and is highlighted in red. And just a few photos. This is the existing fire station, and what the fire department is proposing to do as we get into this is build the new fire station behind this one. And then once the new fire station is built, they would transition all their equipment and operations to the new fire station, and then tear down this particular building and make it part of the parking and landscaping area. This is a view looking back towards Liberty Elementary, and then this is a view looking towards the skylight area going down towards Goshen. And then just a quick shot of the back of their property. So the proposed firehouse would be built back here. And then again, the existing firehouse would be torn down once they've moved into the new fire station. The zoning in the area is primarily residential, whether it's just like a single-family residential or agricultural residential or conservation residential. There is just a little bit of history here. The plat that created the 1 acre that the firehouse originally set on in the early 90s was approved by our staff in February of 1989. In April of 1989, the fire department had to come to the County Board of Adjustments and get a conditional use for a fire station. That's how the zoning ordinance existed at that time. You didn't ask for a community facility review. You basically asked for a conditional use from the Board of Adjustments. That was approved. In July of 2005, the rear portion of the fire department project was part of a proposed subdivision that you all heard. That was a 15-lot, single-family subdivision called Axton Meadows, which you all denied, so therefore it was never built. And then subsequently, part of that subdivision, a 1 acre parcel, was created and added to their current acreage, which is why they have 2.34 acres. So Axton Meadows was proposed here and actually included this rear portion of their site. Since that did not get built, the fire department did acquire this rear portion, providing them the space to expand. So the requested proposal, and the chief's here, when I'm done, he can talk about the firehouse in detail much greater than I ever could, is basically to construct an 8,260 square foot fire station behind the existing fire station, and then after moving into that, demolishing the old fire station. This is their development plan. So the existing fire station is shaded in gray right here. The new fire station will be built right here. And then after it's built and they've moved into that, the old fire station would be demolished. They meet all their zoning requirements in terms of impervious area, setback, landscaping, and any of the things we would normally do as part of a site plan review. If you all grant the community facility review, they will have to, as part of their building permit process, get site plan review from staff. We work in partnership with the county engineer's office and then the planning staff. It's not a big enough project that generates enough traffic that it would have to come back to you all for site plan review. So the community facility review is kind of a unique provision in our zoning ordinance. You all heard one earlier this year on Highway 42 for the North Oldham Library branch in the county clerk's office going in across from 1793. You guys really don't approve or deny a community facility review. You look at it to see if it's in conformance with the comprehensive plan, which we'll touch on here in just a second. And if you determine that it's not in conformance with the comprehensive plan, you advise the applicant how they can make their proposal in conformance with the comprehensive plan, and then they come back. So in terms of the comprehensive plan, the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan identifies the North Oldham Fire Department property as an institutional future land use. And an institutional land use are properties that are owned or used by government entities, churches, and public utilities. And this is a copy of the future land use map. The fire department property is located right there. And then the other colors on here are primarily residential, with the exception of the former Liberty Elementary School, which is also indicated as an institutional future land use. In terms of the goals and objectives of the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan, it does address community facilities, when we would expect them to expand or be located. The goals are specifically outlined in your all's motion when we get to there, but just to touch upon it, it's basically saying, community facilities are expected to expand in Oldham County to accommodate future and current growth. And then the goals and objectives also say that, we have a process of notifying the public when someone's proposing to expand a community facility like the fire department, which is what we're doing here today. So in summary, want to build the new firehouse, move into it, tear the old firehouse down. This is their development plan, and that concludes my portion of the staff presentation. The county engineer may have some comments.
Thank you, Mr. Fogel. Mr. Silliman.
Thank you. Yes, we've been in coordination with North Oldham Fire's design engineers and architects, and they're aware, as you can see from the plan, because the site involves more than an acre of disturbance, there's stormwater detention and water quality provided in accordance with our ordinances. I believe they're coordinating, or we're waiting for final coordination from the Division of Water on their KYR 10 permit. And because the use is not changing, we don't see any traffic impacts that would require a traffic assessment or traffic impact study.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Being none, we will move into presentation from applicant.
Sorry, I'm working on a back injury here, so I got to hobble on up. Give me a second.
Let's get your name and address for the record, please.
Appreciate it. Chief Hewitt Brown with North Oldham Fire Department and 1660 Highway 1793. Although the structure we're talking about is our second firehouse.
Hang on, let's get you sworn real
Go
quick,
ahead, sorry.
okay?
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's all you.
The structure we're talking about here is our Skylight Firehouse off of 42 there, just to be specific with that. I think it makes sense to just talk about why there's a need for a second structure here. In 2020, we started staffing that firehouse with 3 personnel full-time. The existing structure is basically a pole barn that has some retrofitted staff space there that we've retrofitted even further with some bedrooms and bunks and that kind of thing. As we were looking at increasing rate of repairs and increasing cost incurred with that, we had several structural analysis that showed some pretty significant just overall structural issues that said, basically in the next 2 years, we need to either, change our location or build a new structure there because that structure is just quickly becoming untenable, unsafe for our staff. So that was the initial identification and realized that, there's this sort of urgent need for, to make sure our folks are safe in a building while they're out there keeping other people safe. Secondary to that, we started to think about the longer term implications of a firehouse in that location. And so a couple things we identified is that, we want to be looking 40 years out if we're going to take the time to build a structure like that. And sort of trying to identify what potential changes there are in that area of our district. And to be honest, currently, you're not going to see a ton of development in that area. A lot of those larger farms there are in land trust. And the ones that aren't are sort of limited in their development because of water issues specifically. There's some projects in the work that may change the water supply issues there, which may allow for further development. That's going to be more of an issue for you all than me. But I think there is some potential there. Secondary to that is that currently we use that firehouse as a safe space for the community in case of tornado or weather issues. The problem with that is it's not a safe place to be. So the only thing that happens is now our whole community and the people who are protecting them are sitting in an unsafe place. And so another thing we want to look at providing here is a storm shelter to shelter the community and also, of course, ourselves to keep us safe there. And then the last thing we want to consider is being good neighbors long term. And so a couple things with that is one, ensuring that stuff like, water retention is done well, preserving the integrity of the farms that surround us and the lots that surround us, and also thinking constructively about lighting, being good neighbors with that kind of stuff, and also just the architectural design so that it fits in the area. Building a super modern building next to a bunch of, nice horse barns doesn't make a lot of sense. So marrying that with, trying to be as fiscally responsible as possible is where we're trying to look at this. So when we're thinking about this project, we're trying to build this within reason for the next 40 years, right? And fit all of those needs at the same time.
All right, thanks, sir. Questions? Not yet. Anything else from the applicant?
No.
Will this particular facility actually have a small place for community to meet for meetings and that
Well,
sort of
so
thing?
we will have a small reception area, but to be honest, our other firehouse has a really large community room. And so for bigger meetings, definitely the intent would be to push those folks to that other community area, just because we've already got this really large space there. So, it is community facing for sure, but, especially since there's not voting happening there, it's a pretty small application for that. The bigger community side of this thing, I think, is the storm shelter and providing that in those kind of weather emergencies.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Douglas?
You had two other individuals with you today. Are they on the board?
I don't have anybody else.
Oh, you don't have anybody
No,
with you?
No.
So is the board approved?
Yes,
North Oldham
yeah.
board?
So we've approved the funding for this, and then also started working with the architect and design company, and we're in the bidding process, providing that this all goes well. Yeah, all that has been approved by the board.
And you're already have the funds to do this?
So what we're doing now is putting it out to bid. That was advertised last week, and then getting the bond to pay for that money. But it's pending the bidding so that we know exactly how much we're going to cost.
Okay.
Yeah. So that financing process is in process. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, further questions? All right, anyone else here who wishes to speak in favor of the application? And does anyone wish to speak in opposition? All right. Any final statement from you, sir?
No, I think one, it's I think an important addition to the area's public safety, but also community-wise, I think there's real benefit there.
Thank you very much. Any further questions from commission? All right, Mr. Baxter, I know I got kind of out of line there, but did we cover it okay?
I think we are.
All right.
I mean, this is pretty simple.
Mr. Fogel?
Okay, so on the screen and then also listed in your staff report are suggested motions for acceptance and also suggested motions for non-acceptance. The motion to accept this and find it in accordance with the provisions of the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan are outlined there, that it does comply with the future land use map designation of institutional, and that it also satisfies the goals and objectives under Goal C, Community Facility -1, Objectives 1-2 and 1-3. Pretty typical suggested condition of approval would be that it's what was presented as part of their application and at today's public hearing.
And Mr. Chairman, the only other comment I would make is obviously when you have a governmental agency coming before you all, the rules are a little bit different about what they're trying to do. I mean, they get some latitude in that they are trying to provide a benefit to the public, and in that regard, you don't have necessarily the same overreaching, I guess, policing of their plan. I mean, they are going to come in with a plan that they're going to get approved by staff and the county engineer, and that really what they're doing is they're coming before you to demonstrate the need, and if there's a finding that there is a need and compliance with the comprehensive plan, that's really the basis for the decision.
Thank you, sir. All right, commissioners, questions? Looking like none, we'll open the floor for motions. Mr. Douglas, thank you.
I'll try. Mr. Chairman, I recommend on PZ 23-022 that we move to accept the community facility of the North Oldham Fire Department structure because the proposed North Oldham Fire Department facility is in accordance with the comprehensive plan's future land use map, designation of the institutional and the community facilities and services goals and objectives. Specifically, Goal CF-1, which provides a need for community facility and services where infrastructures can support it, that it's wise and planned and equitably use of the community's monetary, physical, and human resources based on the testimony that was provided by the applicant, that was approved by the North Oldham Fire Department Board. And also Objective CF-1-2, development priority areas should be given consideration for expansion of new construction of this facility based on the testimony that the North Oldham Fire Department has provided. And also, objective CF-1-3 informs the community and provides special notices to all interested parties as testimony is provided in a public hearing today at the Planning Commission. And also, I include the, I believe there's a condition or suggested motion, condition of approval associated with community facility, that the community facility shall only apply to the presentation and application considered at the October 24th, 2023 Oldham County Planning Commission public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Douglas. Mr. Baxter?
Adequate motion, sir.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. May I have a second? Second. Ms. Davis, thank you. Discussion? We'll move into a roll call vote.
Ms. Walzer?
Yes.
Ms. Nasser?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Elder?
Yes.
Mr. Finney?
Yes.
Mr. Klingenfuss?
Yes.
Mr. Hampton?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Falvey?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Edgar. And PZ-23-022 has been approved on a motion of 11-0. All right, commissioners, we good? All right. Mr. Fogel, do you have the next? Or, yep. I'm sorry, we'll read the next docket first. Yeah.
Docket PZ 23023, an application has been filed by Eagle Creek Golf Club for the approval of a community facility review for a proposed clubhouse located at 2820 South Highway 53 LaGrange. The property is zoned Planned Unit Development, PUD District.
Thank you, Ms. Edgar.
All right.
Mr. Fogel?
Yes. So Brian Fogel, Assistant Director, and this is another community facility review for the Planning Commission to consider. It's for a new clubhouse at the Eagle Creek Golf Course here in the city of LaGrange. Notification was given for today's meeting on our website to adjoining property owners and a legal advertisement in the Oldham Mirror newspaper. The location of Eagle Creek Golf Course is on South 53. This is 53 coming out of LaGrange. Glen Eagles subdivision is here. The entrance to the golf course is right here across the lake. And then this is the location of the existing clubhouse, and the proposed new location will be in front of the existing clubhouse. So a little bit of role reversal from what you all just heard with the North Oldham Fire Department. The proposal here, from what I understand, is to build the new clubhouse in front of the old clubhouse. Once they've transitioned into the new clubhouse, the old clubhouse would be demolished. A few pictures. This is looking at the existing clubhouse from Highway 53 in the drive you take to get back to there. This is looking south towards the Ballardsville area, looking north back towards the city of LaGrange. The existing clubhouse, and then just a back view of the existing clubhouse back on the golf course. So the zoning on this property is planned unit development, which is one of those unique zoning districts. The reason that it is planned unit development is that in 2005, it was incorporated into the proposed Oldham Reserve project. So the zoning was changed on the property from R2 low-density residential and conservation residential to the planned unit development, which is what it is. And the only other thing that I could find in terms of any site history or governmental review on this was that in November 2002, the LaGrange Board of Adjustments did approve a variance for the installation of a freestanding sign. The country club and the golf course has been there since the late 60s. It originally was part of the Green Valley Estates and the Green Valley Country Club, but everything was developed, designed, and constructed prior to the time that there was a zoning ordinance, so it was in existence prior to the adoption of the zoning ordinance. So the proposal is to construct a 10,620 square foot, one-story clubhouse building with a basement in front of the existing clubhouse. After they've transitioned to the new clubhouse, demolished the existing clubhouse, and then in its place, in the footprint of the former clubhouse, they're proposing a putting green, which is right here. So the existing clubhouse footprint is right here. The new clubhouse would be built right here, and then after the existing clubhouse has been abandoned and demolished, a putting green would be located right there. Here's just a couple building elevations of what the new clubhouse would look like, what it would look like from the front off of Highway 53, and then what it would look like from the rear facing the golf course. Similar to what we heard before, you all review these to make sure they're in accordance with the provisions of the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan. The Oldham County Comprehensive Plan identifies the future land use for this property as recreation/open space. That particular future land use is defined as an area that's currently used, planned for active and passive recreational use. This category includes both publicly owned and operated areas, as well as open space and conservation areas within platted subdivisions. This is a image of the future land use map from the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan, showing that the golf course property is identified as a recreation and open space land use. The other colors on the map would be, this is where Green Valley apartments are at, multifamily attached. The patio homes over here, and then the green are agricultural, rural, and the other shades of yellow are basically single-family residential. But the future land use map designated on this particular property is for recreation and open space. So in terms of the goals and objectives, the goals and objectives establish the fact that there are needs in the community similar to this, and additionally, the process that we follow, where any proposals to expand or establish a community facility comes before the Planning Commission. And then finally, the third goal in terms of this particular proposal is that there is the goal to provide a system that supports public parks, diverse recreation areas, open spaces, and greenways that support the preservation of the county's natural and scenic resources, wildlife habitats, and serves neighborhoods and communities. That basically concludes this portion of the staff report. County engineer may have some comments.
Thank you, Mr. Fogel. Mr. Silliman?
Yes, thank you. Actually, Brian answered one of my questions here on this, on my plan, which is I had putting green question mark, and he said it's putting green. So that's a pervious surface. We like that for stormwater. If you look at I've highlighted, and you can't see it on this, but on your plan, it does show that with the development, there's an increase in impervious area of 0.29 acres. There's an existing asphalt area that observed on the aerial that may not be taken into account there, and I think there's also some asphalt here that could potentially be removed with the addition of the putting green that could remove that, and then have a balance of no impervious increase. So we'll just continue to coordinate with the development team on whether or not detention is required, but again, if there's no increase, then there'd be no stormwater detention required. Also, since this is greater than one area of disturbed acre, one acre of disturbed area, they would be getting an Oldham County stormwater management and erosion control permit from our office and a KYR 10 permit. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Silliman. All right, commissioners, questions for staff? Seeing none, we will move into presentation from applicant. Who would like to speak? Would it be better if we brought the podium to you today, Mayor?
Hey, I tell you what, it's tough getting old, but I had a knee replacement 8 weeks ago, so.
Well, we're glad you could be
I've got one
here.
going on, and Judge Vogel has one going on. He's 6 days into his, I'm 8 weeks into mine, but then plus I just got over COVID. COVID hit me after that, during that time period, but do I need to be sworn?
Yes, sir. You and anyone else who will be speaking.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I think the secret's already out, but let's go ahead and get your name and address for the record.
Okay. All right, I'm John Black. I live at 108 North 5th Street, LaGrange, Kentucky. Mayor, City of LaGrange. Good to see all of y'all today. I would like to say, too, about Jim Urban. Sorry for Jim and his situation, but his mother lived a nice life and raised a good young man, Jim Urban. So I'm glad he's spending some time up in New England with her, and this staff here is doing a wonderful job and sitting in for Jim, plus that. Hold on a second. I just want to give you a little background about what we're doing here. As most of you may know, Jim Cash founded Green Valley Country Club, Green Valley Golf Course, or Green Valley Apartments. That's all goes back to probably the 60s. So some of you may remember Jim Cash, but he actually built that home there as today, and I believe that's where Jim Cash lived. Back in the 90s, there was a swimming pool there, Green Valley swimming pool. Greg, I don't know if you ever swam there or not, or Barry, Hampton, but I used to do backflips off the high dive there. But in early 90s, that was the swimming pool for Oldham County. Wendell Moore was renting that pool, leasing it per year for $5,000 a year. Then when I became county judge in, I think, 93, I decided that we were losing more water out there daily than it was holding in the pipes there. So that's where we moved into the idea of the John Black Aquatic Center to try to do something a little bit better for our citizens. Sorry, my phone's going on. The Parks Board, back in the day, just want to say something about the Raymond Wilburn Foundation. They originally bought 9 acres there of the Green Valley Golf Course. Later on, the City of LaGrange bought the back 9 acres in the deal with, I think Brian mentioned the Oldham Reserve. That became part of the green space. We consider Eagle Creek one of our 6 parks here in the city. All of our parks offer different opportunities, but we're trying to do something there different at Eagle Creek, starting with this idea today. We just completed the Springs Park idea. I think we came here for that community facility review. We are in the process of trying to finish up our skateboard park facility directly behind Springs Park, and we're just about finished with that. So now what we're here today to tell you all about is a new golf experience we're trying to create at Eagle Creek. Most of you may know that since COVID, the golfing experience has gone crazy. We have just been totally busy as can be since COVID. The golfers are now playing outside, and it has not stopped since those days. And we've had record numbers of golfers and record numbers of income there at Eagle Creek. We are going to try to create a golfing experience here, and Trey Kamer is going to tell you about it in a moment. We're going to try to make it more of a family destination, just not like a golf course only. That's our vision over time, and today, as Trey presents this to you, he's going to tell you about what we have planned there. I use Trey Kamer for many different things. He's one of our city council persons for LaGrange, but he's heading up this project here at Eagle Creek. We're going to try to, we're planning on building this project with cash money. We will borrow no money, and we are anticipating running about $3 million to start with. We also have today with us Miranda Construction for any of the technical review questions y'all might have. Miranda's our contract builder here today, and they are proposing this great idea. We have a management contract there. The person that oversees our course, they live on site, so you're going to see in our plans today that we actually are providing facilities for that couple who runs our golf course day to day, 7 days a week. It's a little bit different idea as how some golf courses are operated, but we have found out with a management contract, that's what we'd like to do. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Trey Kamer. He's going to present the idea, and hopefully this commission will say we're doing good things. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Mr. Kamer, let's get your name and address for the record, please.
Trey Kamer, 502 North 4th in LaGrange. Thank you. And I'll probably repeat a little bit of what's already been said, but just wanted to talk about the concept a little bit and how we are going to operate the existing course experience with what we hopefully will be able to do in the future. So we are looking to enhance the property, like has already been presented. We will keep the existing structure in place, so we will continue to have folks come and enjoy the space, play golf, and keep operations going while we are also building, or hopefully building the new structure that will go directly in front of it, and will take the existing putting green space. We are kind of talking about what we can do possibly temporarily to have a temporary putting green so we don't lose that amenity for folks. As far as the building itself, looking at it straight on from the right-hand side, that the current building, if you've been there before, that is where the pro shop is. We still continue or are looking to have the pro shop be on the right-hand side of the building, and have folks go in and do their green fees and stuff like that, then immediately go off to hole number 1, which is just kind of right up the hill. There is also a men's and women's restroom facility that will be larger than what is there currently. The center space will, from a conceptual standpoint, we are looking to bring back, I'm going to say, a restaurant. It was a country club at one time. There was food service there at one time. I don't really know when the food service was discontinued there, but we are looking to bring that back. We are currently in negotiations with a restaurateur, so the city of LaGrange is not going into the restaurant business, but we are looking to lease the space and working out those details. Also in the center space, there's 2 golf simulators, which we hope is a little bit of a unique amenity for the space. We don't have anything like that now. We don't have a driving range right now. So we were looking to maybe use that to help with that. Also I haven't really been to some of the golf simulators, but this has been brought up a lot, where you can play this year round. So even when the weather's not so nice, people could still come to the property and continue to play golf and enjoy that. There is a little bit of a space for gatherings where it could be used as a rental space as well. The left-hand side, Mayor also touched on this as well. So that is an on-site residence where the existing management staff would continue to live on site. Currently, they live on the 2nd floor of the existing building. We did have a lot of discussion and felt that continuing to have on-site staff helps with security. Also, golfers tend to show up on the property pretty early, so they are available, to get the course going. Also, they with our irrigation, that was also a point of discussion that, they're often going out in the middle of the evening to do various things on the course that need attention when play is not happening. Trying to think if I've left anything else out, Mayor. I mean, we definitely feel like this has been, I think we've been talking about this concept for about the better part of 2 years. This is the third rendition. I think originally there was something that kind of looked like a pole barn. Then there was another rendition that looked kind of like the same building that's there today. We just had a lot of discussion and ended up with what has been presented. Just to touch on the basement part, I'm forgetting about this too. So the existing cart storage is directly behind the building today. The new drawings will have the cart storage in the basement. So all the electrical charging stations will be there. And I think that's about it. As far as the building itself goes, we have discussed this in the Parks Committee. It has been approved. We have discussed it in the Budget Committee. It has been approved. We've discussed it in the Eagle Creek Advisory Board Committee. It has been approved. And the conception has also been discussed in front of full City Council and has also been approved where Mayor touched on the budgeting aspects. So we currently have it in this year's fiscal budget to hopefully move forward with the project.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kamer.
Thank you.
Does that conclude applicant's presentation, or we got a little bit more? Good. Let's get your name and address for the record.
My name is Doug Sellers. I'm with Bowman Consulting in Louisville, Kentucky. That's 3001 Taylor Springs Drive, Louisville, 40220. Basically, I'm going to rehash pretty much what the mayor and Trey said as well, but I have a few little things that I can also show a little bit. Again, the zoning, site zoning, shows a little bit where the property is located, where the existing clubhouse is located. An overall aerial of the site, including the LaGrange Parkway and Eden Parkway, and where the course is in relation to the city of LaGrange. This is a little bit closer aerial, shows where the existing current clubhouse is, and then where the proposed clubhouse will be located directly in front on the existing putting green. We've already seen this photo, so I'll just keep going. And this is a little bit closer view of the existing clubhouse. Again, our proposed development plan. To answer the engineer's question regarding the impervious surface, the pavement in the front will be removed, and the pavement around the proposed putting green will also be removed. So those will be taken away, and that will help reduce our impact as far as drainage goes. The new clubhouse, obviously, as Trey mentioned, will include the pro shop, the restaurant lounge area, underground golf storage, the golf simulators, the new putting green, and then the on-site residence for the management company. On the north upper side of the building, you can see this is the ramp that goes down into the basement underneath for the golf carts. So it'll be, they'll all be secured inside. Front elevation. Again, this is kind of an rendering of what the site's going to look like from the front. Rear elevation, and again, what the rendering is going to look like from the rear. There's also a little pedestrian bridge that will go over the ramp to the basement here to the pro shop, which will be in this area. The apartment will be down on this end, and then the restaurant lounge and the golf simulators will be in the center. There'll also be a rear patio as well that'll be covered for outdoor dining. Another angle. Any questions?
Questions for the applicant? Mr. Douglas, please.
Yes, sir.
I just have a safety question.
Okay.
The design to place the golf carts in the basement for charging areas.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any concerns of vapor from the assets from the batteries?
I'm going to defer that to Bill Case for Miranda.
Right.
Good morning.
Get your name and address for the record, please.
Bill Case, Miranda Construction, 133 East Kentucky Street, Louisville, Kentucky, 40203, I believe. Yes, there's an exhaust system to get out all the fumes from any of the charging systems down there. It goes straight up through the second floor and up through the roof.
And who will maintain that? The management on the property, or, I mean, is it an elaborate exhaust system, or is it?
No, sir, I wouldn't believe so. It's just a big exhaust fan.
Okay.
That probably the caretakers probably take care of, or
City.
we'll have some kind of city people. Okay.
Let's get your name and address for the record, please.
Brian Cutter, Miranda Construction, 322 East Kentucky Street. I'm the architect of record on the building. Our mechanical designer is putting a hydrogen detection unit in the basement that is automated and will have a sequence of automated operation if it gets over the parts per million that are unsafe. In addition, the exhaust system in the basement will be making 6 air changes per hour.
And the alarm system, that's what I was going to get to next, will be able to be heard from above?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is a pretty sophisticated system. We're spending some sizable amount of money on the controls package for it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Hampton.
This is probably going to be a form of testifying, but I just like to say I have a little bit of a background here, and this is not unusual to have the carts stored in the basement. It happens all the time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Ms. Davis, please.
It may be for John Black.
It was Iva.
I get answers back there.
Yes, ma'am.
You speak of this as becoming a country club. Do you have any future plans for like tennis courts and swimming pools?
Is that mic on? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Davis, we do. Our vision there is to try to create a more family-oriented type of place. We feel like Oldham County is growing. The present golf courses in probably Oldham County could be maxed out, possibly to the point that we want to create another opportunity. As we speak, we're building a new sewer delivery system in Oldham Reserve that's LaGrange Utility is going to have in their service area about 2,500 new acres of development planning strategies for that whole area. So we just try to pay as we go. We don't try to create debt so we can manage that. So our next idea possibly would be trying to maybe come back with a pickleball courts later date, possibly a public swimming pool, and try to make it more of a family destination where we could maybe move into family memberships, but still keep it public. But our plan is not to stop with this, but we don't want to generate any debt. We want to stay debt-free out there and build as we get it. So the golf course has been doing so well. They're putting up, even though it's the city's money, they're putting up through their receipts part of the construction money. The city itself is putting up a couple million, and also we're using some of the ARPA money that came from the federal government. We've saved a little bit, so much of that back to help us offset any other costs as well. So Miranda may need more money, and they may get it, but we're on a really tight budget, and we're going to try to get it done somewhere in the neighborhood of about $3 million. But we hope to have more vision coming later date.
Thank you.
Ms. Davis, anything further? All right. So for applicant, has that completed your application? Are you there? Anyone else here wishes to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none, anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? All right, we'll dispense with the rest of the protocol then and move into your final statement. Anything else to say, Mr. Black?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. All right, questions from the commission then. Any further questions? Looks like none. Mr. Fogel?
Included in your all's staff report, but then I'm also going to put it up here on the screen, are suggested motions to accept the community facility review proposal or to not accept it. The standard condition being that it is what was in the application and presented to you all today on October 24th, and to find that it's in accordance with the comprehensive plan's future land use map of recreation/open space, and then also the community facilities goals and objectives, specifically goal community facility 1, and then the objectives of 1-2, 1-3, and 1-5.
Thank you, Mr. Fogel. Any questions from the commissioners? All right, we will have the floor open for motions.
Oh, hey, Doug.
Who would like to make a motion today? Mr. Falvey?
Under PZ-23-023, I move to accept the community facility because the proposed Eagle Creek Golf Course facility is in accordance with the comprehensive plan, future land use map designation of recreation, open space, and the following community facilities and services goals and objectives. That's goal CF1-1, CF1-2, CF1-3, and CF-5.
Thank you, Mr. Falvey. Mr. Baxter, we good?
We are, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Can I have a second? Mr. Hampton, thank you.
One thing, Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I'm not doing my Mr. Urban role very well. I assume, Mr. Falvey, that this only applies to the plan presented today at the Planning Commission hearing?
It does.
So that you're incorporating that into your motion?
I'll incorporate that into the motion.
Mr. Hampton, second. Okay, we're good. All right, anything else? All right, discussion. Seeing none, we'll move into a roll call vote.
Ms. Nasser?
Yes.
Mr. Falvey?
Yes.
Mr. Finney?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Douglas?
Yes.
Mr. Elder?
Yes.
Mr. Hampton?
Yes.
Mr. Klingenfuss?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Walzer?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Edgar. And PZ-23-023 is passed on a vote of 11-0. Thank you, ma'am. All right, Mr. Fogel, other business.
Yeah, just 3 items. Normally, the study review committee would meet this upcoming Thursday. We are not having a meeting. We'll probably send you an email out today. We didn't want to send it before the Planning Commission meeting with the concern that we'd have 5 members think, oh, the Planning Commission meeting has been canceled, and clearly it wasn't. So there is no study review committee meeting this month or this Thursday. We do anticipate having it on your next day, which is November 30th, which will be the Thursday after Thanksgiving. Also, after Thanksgiving on November 28th, it's your all's next scheduled meeting. We do have one application, but I don't want you guys to think, yippee, might be a short meeting. It's a big application. It's the Chlor Station development along the Highway 329 bypass and 71. So it may be a blessing that we just have that one item on the agenda so we can just dedicate our attention to that particular case. And
Thank
that's
you,
all.
Mr. Fogel. All right, anything additional, guys? All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Oh, Mr. Hampton, yes, this document in your hand is
yes,
a certificate
thank
of
you.
receipt or distribution.
Yeah, this is one of those things where we're crossing T's and dotting I's. We got an email from the Attorney General's office, which is just a standard email that anyone that serves on a planning commission or a board of adjustments needs to sign a form saying that they will comply with the open records request laws. We handle that as staff, but the judge executive's office has asked anyone who serves on a board or commission to go ahead and fill it out. You can either give it to me or Christy, and we'll get it to Tara, or if you want to go over and say hi to Tara and the folks in the judge's office, you just go in there and you give it to Tara. So it's a formality, just saying that you recognize that what you guys do, are a matter of open records, and you'll comply with that requirement if you get that request. Again, we get those requests regularly as staff, and we handle it.
Thank you, Mr. Fogel and Mr. Hampton, for bringing that up. All right, nothing else. We'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And we are. Thank you, everyone. See you next month.
Did you say, did you take it?